you on behalf of AIA Colorado for being willing to be one of our speakers for the design conference and for meeting with me ahead of time to kind of go over some get to know you questions about you and your business. So you ready for the interview?
Thank you, Karen. I'm ready.
All right. So I understand the 3D printing store was started about a year ago last November. What have been some of the challenges in starting the 3D printing store during the last year?
Well, the challenges have been the phenomenal growth that we experienced right away, which we weren't anticipating. We know now that there's a great deal of pent-up demand for 3D printing services, and I don't think we expected that when we started.
Oh, that's great. Where do you think the demand came from?
I think that there are many, many people and small businesses who are interested in being able to make things, and 3D printing technology provides an opportunity for printing and making things that wasn't available before. So people have had ideas in their heads. They've been working with projects for many years, and they knew they wanted to make something. They simply didn't know how to do it. And now 3D printing allows that to happen.
That's great. From your perspective, how do you see architecture having changed in the past 5 years or so? And what do you think is a new normal moving forward for architects, maybe as it relates to 3D printing?
We are so excited and have worked with a number of different architects and people that are building things. And what we know is that this is an exciting technology for that industry, and we will be able to assist them, and the industry will embrace this. There have been a few hiccups with the 3D modeling software that is being used by a lot of firms. And so we've been working through that with people, and we are now creating successful prints. And it's very exciting for us and for the architectural firms we've worked with.
That's great. I bet you save them a lot of time from building models that they used to do by hand.
Yes, and we have the opportunity to both scale those models and to make those kinds of changes that they might not have anticipated when the model was being built, or that as they look at it, they decide that change needs to be made. And for us to make that sort of a change is really a very simple process.
Oh, that's cool. So how do you see the 3D printing evolving over the next 5 years?
I am confident that 3D printing is going to become more familiar to more industries. I am confident that the printer technology is going to become better and less expensive, and there will be more materials that can be printed. And when those things happen, there will simply be more things that can be made, and that it's going to create more innovation for people in the industries that are utilizing and will utilize 3D printing.
Great. Who has been influential in spurring you to open a 3D printing store?
Well, probably my business partner. He and I talked about 3D printing. I explained to him that I'd become familiar with it through aviation and aerospace, and that it was being used rather extensively in those two industries. So he did some research, and he said, well, I think we need to open a 3D printing store, because currently, or before we opened our store, it was existing inside of engineering companies, aviation, and aerospace firms, but it wasn't readily available for people to be able to experience it the way we've made that available at the 3D printing store. And based on the response we've gotten, we were right.
Absolutely. It sounds like it. Are you guys the only store like this in Colorado?
We're really the only store like this in the country. There are 2 or 3 different versions, but there are mostly firms that provide services to specific industries or that are just operating in a digital world. And we've learned that having a storefront and having a place where people come in, sit down, and talk through their project is really valuable.
So do you see most of your clients are coming from Colorado or getting a national attention?
Both. We have a lot of local people, but I have people who drive from Nebraska or from New Mexico to come to our store, and we get phone calls from across the country.
Oh, that's great. Who are some of your mentors that helped you get the office off the ground?
I've had a lot of mentors through a couple of different avenues that I'm very active in. One is the Colorado Clean Tech Industry Association, and the other would be the Colorado Space Business Roundtable. And through both of those entities, I've been exposed to a variety of different companies and a lot of startup companies and having the mentorship of other people who have been involved in startups and in those kinds of industries that are on the cutting edge have been very, very helpful.
That's great. What is your past experience? What were you doing before? You mentioned kind of aerospace type of things.
Most recently, I was working with a company, and we had developed an electric airplane. So we had converted a Cessna 172 to an electric propulsion system. And it did actually fly. We flew it down at Centennial Airport. I'm sad to say that some of the technology that we were working on sort of ran into some roadblocks, and so the project is not currently being continued. But I'm very hopeful for electric flight for this country.
Yeah, that sounds cool. It sounds like you're an innovator as well.
I like to think so.
That's good. If you had to start over, which since you started just last November, you don't have that whole backlog for the 3D printing store, but what would you do differently, or what lessons have you learned in the past year that you would, if you were to start over again, what would make it the most successful?
Well, success or having a lot of customer and a large customer base has not been an issue for us. I would have done a little more pre-planning. I thought that as I started, I would have time to do the planning as I went along, and that simply wasn't the case. So it's kind of been learn as you go, and there's really no other industry out there or anybody like me, so everything we do from scratch. So it's all a learning process.
I bet it will continue to be as it evolves too. What connections do you still have to your original education?
Well, I was trained as an attorney, and I did stop practicing law a number of years ago. That's been a good change in my life. But the background of having a law degree is very helpful in any business environment, in my mind, and has served me well in this and other things that I've been doing.
I think that would be very helpful, especially as a startup. What are your aspirations for the 3D printing store in Colorado, or if it grows to even more national? What are your kind of hopes and dreams to where you see it being in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, we definitely see that this model can be built out in other locations, whether that's across Colorado, and we have several opportunities that have presented themselves in Colorado, as well as across the country. What we know is that people do enjoy the opportunity to walk into our store to see 3D printing and to learn about what it can be and can become. And as that continues, then we know that we will continue to be able to provide those services to individuals and small businesses alike for prototyping and for even small runs for some of our customers that we are their manufacturer. So we see ourselves as part of the manufacturing chain in this country that will improve and increase manufacturing.
That's cool. Yeah, I bet the technology can probably change the world really fast-paced here in the future. Being relatively new, I know you said you have a lot of clients already and a lot of people coming to you, but is it people just calling you because there's that pent-up demand, or is there any marketing or active approach for business development that you're doing to attract more clients?
We've really had sort of an organic approach to this, so we've had our website, and I've had an opportunity to speak to a number of different groups. We're both interested in industry applications. We're very interested in educational opportunities and are working currently with a number of different schools to develop curriculum and experiences and teaching 3D printing, because we know that it's going to be a technology that our kids will experience and utilize in ways that you and I haven't even thought of today. So there are many opportunities, but our process has been pretty much an organic one at this point.
Yeah, that's great. I know I've run into you at the Blue Book and a couple of those events too, and everyone's always fascinated by what you have at the shows. I know at the Design Con you're going to probably have a little crowd following you as well. So now for some non-work related questions. What's your favorite word?
Probably exciting.
That's a good one. And what's your least favorite word? No swearing.
I can't.
Can't. Yep. What turns you on?
Things that are fun.
What turns you off?
People who don't have any vision.
What sound do you love?
I love the sound of my printers.
I bet you do. That's an exciting sound, wondering what will come out next. What sounds do you hate?
Whining.
Me too. What is your favorite curse word? Oh, I guess we are asking for curse words.
I can't say that I have one.
I don't think I have one either. That's okay. What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
I would love to be a material sciences person at this point. I would love to know more about materials.
Yeah, I bet that would come in handy with 3D printing too, because there's probably a lot of mediums you can work with, huh?
Yes, it would.
That would be neat. What profession would you not like to do?
I would not like to be an accountant.
Either. No offense to accountants, but it's not my personality either. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You made a difference.
That's a good thing to say, absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience of AIA Colorado before they come see you in Keystone in October?
That I'm excited to speak to this group, and I know that there are so many ways in which we are going to work with architects and people that belong to your association, because this technology has got so many more opportunities associated with it for improving what they do. So if a picture's worth 1,000 words, trust me, a print is worth 1,000 pictures.
I am sure they would agree with you wholeheartedly with that. I know a lot of architects still do the models by hand and things like that because they understand seeing something three-dimensionally is much more vivid and communicates much better than a drawing does. So I'm sure they're all going to be very excited to see you out there as well.
Great. Well, I'm excited to be there. Thank you.